talking about Master of the Year. Now, I'm so sorry this late. Finally, I can review this thing because Apple does a week-to-week release like Disney does, so I couldn't do this in advance. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I couldn't do this during the week last week because I was a bit sick last week. I was still recovering. I might be a bit hemming in the throat still, but I'm recovering slowly as well. So yeah, so we're going to talk about Masters of the Year. This is a great show. I love the show. We'll talk about it more in depth later on. So if you love the movie Elvis, you'll love Masters of the Year because Boston Butler stars in this show as well as because he played Elvis as well. So if you're a big Boston Butler fan, I suggest you go check this out as well. Yeah, it's interesting. We will talk about him later on in this video as well. So yeah, so this is based on a true story. This is not fiction. This is based on the true story called the 100th Bomb Group, which actually did happen. This is set in World War II, I think it is. But it's real. All of it's real. As well. I don't know. Well, I'm not sure everything is real because they like to, movies and TV shows like to, shoot me stuff. But mostly, this happened. Like World War did happen, so that's interesting as well. So this was in World War II. Now, this whole story of this thing kind of like, not started, but I've got notes here as well because I don't know a lot about this what happened. But yeah, so it was in World War II. The Germans invaded England in 1940. London, of course, England, London, and they invaded until July and October. So I guess back then, this was a long time ago. Back then, I guess they were at war. And then, interestingly enough, they didn't put this in the show, which I'm curious to see why that was. Australia was involved in the World War I and also World War II, so I'm not sure why. Once England was invaded, they're like, right, we're gonna join them. So maybe that's how it kind of happened. But if you look up like World War, Australia's very interesting. Like they have their own air force, so I'm not sure why. Even though we see different, it's hard because we see different planes, like different aircraft. It's basically based on the actual thing in America. So the Americas and the Englands as well, because I think they were fighting separately when this happened. So I'm not sure, but yeah, but they did join the war. Let's just say that. But I'm not sure why that was not in the show. But anyway, rambling on. So yeah, so unfortunately in this show there's a lot of deaths. Sorry, be warned. I can't spoil for you what happens, but there's some bloody scenes. Let's just say that because it's war, of course, and was a very traumatizing thing to happen in the world. Like back then, it must have been pretty hard, and you can see in the show explains so much more in depth as well. So yeah, so there have been World War stories before, like they've come back into pop culture a little bit with Apple TV doing lots of it as well. They just released a documentary about this as well, so you can go check that out as well. But World War, I think it's an interesting concept, because all I can think of, there's a couple of World War stories, but I think of Indiana Jones and Wonder Woman, because those were based in World War, but in different settings, Diana being a god, and Diana being a god, in that scenario, in that movie, and also Indiana Jones, even though it's based in World War, it's like they make it very clever and twisting the story a bit as well. But yeah, but it's very interesting to see as well. So knowing that going into this, it's very interesting as well. So in the show, I can't spoil for you what happens because there's a lot of spoilers. So I'll try my best not to spoil anything. But I will say this: the aerial shots, because most of the whole, even though we see movies based on the ground of World War, it's interesting to see a different intake of it from the sky. And there's really good aerial shots. I'm not joking. There's a really good aerial shots in here as well. Like there's some really good shots in some of the episodes. Like there's one flying a plane. There's a couple of I think one of the episodes there was a plane that literally went upside down. I'm not quite sure because it's been a while since I've seen the show. As well, because I watched this when it released, so I don't kind of remember what happens, but I think there was a plane that went upside down as well at some point in the show. I'm not quite sure if that's true or not, but yeah. But also, yeah, really good aerial shots, by the way, like really good. They do some clever things with the camera trick as well, as to it as well. And also, also besides that, they also have some great shots. There's one shot which was pretty badass, and there's like one of the soldiers in kind of like water, and he's got like a gun ready. I'm like, oh, that's a really good shot. That's such a good shot as well. So that was really cool to see as well. Also, the theme, we don't really talk about a lot about the theme songs in this shows because you're obviously like, just skip it. But if you listen to the theme of the show, it's really interesting. Like whoever did score it's really good. Go check it out. You might not check it out because you might see it Apple TV and just say it's just go skip. But even though you skip it, you're like, oh come on, seriously. It's like YouTube ad. Skip. The theme too kind of remind me of Wonder Woman. This is a little bit like Wonder Woman, to be honest with you. But the theme tune is very interesting, and it kind of reminds me of Wonder Woman because in the end credits of Wonder Woman, you like dun 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 dun. So it kind of has that theme tune as well. We call it a theme song per se. I would call it more of a score. Yeah, score to the beginning of the show as well, which is very interesting as well. So that was really cool. It reminded me of Wonder Woman, the soundtrack of Wonder Woman. If you have not seen the score of Wonder Woman, go check it out. It's really good, like really, really good as well. So let's talk about characters. Let's start with Austin Butler because he's the main star of the show alongside another character which we'll get to next. So yeah, so Austin Butler. At first when I saw it, I was like, "Hey Elvis, is that you?" Because he plays Elvis in the movie Elvis, of course. If you have not seen that movie as well. And in an interview with saying because he did press for the show as well. He did an interview with Stephen Colbert, and he said some interesting things about Elvis, and stuff like that. Cause I hope these newcomers find out what they're into when they play these iconic roles, cause it kind of takes a toll. And I've heard a lot of Austin Butler say like it took 4 years to do this movie, 4 years to do Elvis. That is insane for a movie. That's why it's probably 4 hours, to be honest with you. But yeah, but just being in that mindset, of a aquatic character is very hard. And at first when I heard him speak, I'm like, "Hey Elvis, is that you?" Because he like in some of the interviews of Elvis when he did the press release for that movie, he sounded exactly like Elvis. Like no joke. If you see a Jimmy Fallon interview, I think it was, he sounded exactly like Elvis. And he talks about it here a little bit, and he needed like a dialect coach to get him to get him out of that role of being Elvis. Because when you take on these iconic roles, it's very hard, to snap out of it. And you'd think by now Austin Butler's like, after Elvis, I'm taking a break, because usually that's what actors do. And it's like, no, I'm going to get myself out of that headspace and do something different. So Tom Hanks, who was also, we'll talk about him later. Also, Tom Hanks approached him with the show, like, oh, I'm doing the show, so I guess that's how he got cast for this show as well, which is interesting. So yeah, so it was interesting, like like to take yourself out of that mindset of being Elvis for so long must be really hard. I applaud him for doing that because it's very hard to get out of that stitch, if you get what I mean. But yeah, but he did a really good job here. It still reminds me, like the first time he talked, he reminded me of Elvis a bit. It's like, hey Elvis. But his character's totally different to Elvis. I could say now, you don't need to worry about that. But yeah. Also, he was doing interviews and press, like I said, for the show as well, saying that, like no matter what you do, no matter what actors do, they're always going to get questions, and people got to ask them. And like for hosts, for example, got to ask them, these characters, and some actors are like, oh, not this again. So, this kind of reminds me, sorry, this kind of reminds me of Harrison Ford a bit. I love Harrison Ford, but when it comes to Star Wars, it's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to talk about Han Solo? You were him in Star Wars. That's a very iconic role. I mean, why don't you want to talk about it? I mean, you can talk about Indiana Jones, but like, why not Han Solo? Did something happen on set? Like, there's actors like that sometimes who don't want to talk about these roles, and Austin Butler said, he said a clever video in an interview because they were talking about, please stop asking me stuff. And Callum said something, and then Austin Butler said, no, keep asking me questions. Like, that's fantastic. I applaud you for that. That's fantastic. Because actors sometimes don't want to talk about a movie or show that they've done like a year ago now or something. And the fact that he still wants to talk about Elvis, and the fact that he still wants to talk about, Elvis in general, or like movies in general about, you know, behind the scenes. It's very interesting because some actors don't want to do that. So I applaud him for doing that. I applaud him for doing that as well. So that's fantastic. All right, let's talk about Kellen Turner, another standout. Not so much as Austin Butler, because I think Austin Butler has become a star, like a star from what he did with Elvis. So he's not a star like Elvis, but he's getting there slowly. He does a really good job in the show as well. Like in episode, is it I can't remember what episode it was, but in episode 6, 7, and 8, he was really good. We focused more on his character, and it was so fantastic. Like, I think he did a really good job here. I'm like, who is this actor? Because I know him from something, and guess what? He's from Fantastic Beasts. He plays Newt's older brother, and I'm like, wait, that's him? He looks so different. And I think the reason for that is because in interviews I've seen, he's more chill and relaxed, and he's played more like a chill, relaxed character as well, even though it's based off a real person. Like, even though these actors are portraying real people, they were saying, like, in some of the interviews that they wanted to, you know, create their own character, which I thought that was very interesting, because you can't just copy and paste stuff anyway. So, yeah, so that was very interesting. And also the difference between him and Austin, night and day. But like their characters are very different. Like Austin Butler plays more like a serious character, and he just plays like a carefree character, even though he's a soldier in war. So I thought that was a very interesting take on that character as well. But yeah, it's interesting. Also, he also did some interviews with Austin Butler, and may I just say, kudos on behind the scenes of making these characters click. Like their bromance is real. Like I've seen it in interviews. Like I hope they stay really good friends, and some actors do stay really good friends, as well. So yeah, they'll probably stay friends in real life. But I would like to see them a project of this too, because I think they're really something, and I hope they stay contacted with each other as well. It kind of reminds me of Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. Have you seen the interview where Kevin Hart gets freaked out by a butterfly? I think it was like an interview of Jumanji in Australia. That was hilarious. I love their chemistry. I don't care what anyone says. I love their chemistry when they're together. Like, Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson are together again. Like woohoo! Like what's wrong with that? I love these two. They're so funny when they're together. So kind of gives me that vibe as well. So that's fantastic as well. So let's talk about Anthony Boiler. Anthony Boiler is a newcomer. I haven't seen him before in anything like this, but he does a really good job. He kind of reminds me of a young Matthew Broderick. Like, hey, Matthew Broderick, is that you? Because he looks exactly like him, but Matthew Broderick's not. I mean, how old is Matthew Broderick actually? I know he's in his 60s. But he reminds me of a young Matthew Broderick from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if you get what I mean. But he could totally pass off as him if he wants to. Maybe he should ask Matthew Broderick for some advice, because he looks exactly like him. Like, it's insane. Like, wait a minute, is that you? But it's not. I wish it was, but it's not. So he does a really good job also in the role as well. At first he's a buffoon. His character is played off as like a bubbly buffoon, basically. But later on, you see an overall arc of his character, and then he becomes a lieutenant, like a soldier. And I thought that was really interesting. First he was, a nobody, and now he's somebody. And I thought that was very interesting as well. I couldn't tell who was narrating the story, because in some of the episodes, they would have like narrations to what happened during the war as well. So I wasn't sure if that was Austin Butler or him. Although, in the finale, it was kind of him, narrating the story. Unless they took turns. So maybe Austin Butler did some of the narration also. He did some of the narration in the middle part of it. Maybe. But all I could hear was Austin Butler. Like, this is Austin Butler. I'm sure of it. But at the end, I'm like, wait, this is not Austin Butler. This is someone else. So I think that was him, maybe. I don't know if he did all the narration, but that is very interesting. But yeah, he did a really good job as well. He's in the upcoming new series on Apple TV called Mindhunt. Yeah, it's based off he's played an assassin, and we'll see how that goes. He does a really good job here, but I am nervous for him taking up another role because he's playing assassin in this one. He's not assassin in this show as well. So we'll see how he goes. But he's an upcoming star. Alba's got a lot of faith in him from being in this show and making him the main character. So we'll see how he goes as well. We'll see. But also, above all that, they really talk about the real issues. Like, you can see these poor, soldiers and lieutenants, finding out what World War is like. And some of the episodes, you kind of get that theme. Like, even though it's, like, really action-packed in some parts because it's war, like, you forget, like, the basis of it. So there's one scene in particular where this character, sees all these wounded soldiers, and that's, like, real reality. Like, it's real. Like, this is no joke. It's like real. Like, lives would be at stake, and the fact that these men survived the war is insane to me. It's incredible. Like, because some people never made it through the World War. Unfortunately, that's the realization. But yeah, it is tough, and you see kind of them. You see these two characters in particular going through different emotions as well, and it's interesting to see what soldiers see in their eyes, and can you overpass that at some point? That actually reminds me of that Wonder Woman scene where Diana's like looking around with all the gas and seeing all the people not dying, but you get what I mean. So it kind of reminds me of the realization of what she had also. Very on par with Wonder Woman as well. So there's moments where they, have them this there's moments where they have their own moments in the show. That didn't make any sense, but anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So they have their moments in some of the scenes, like different characters have different moments in the show, of course, and you see that really well. Like, you can see that these soldiers did not have it easy as well, like never had it easy as well. And also, like I said before, how do you surpass that, like that traumatizing fear of seeing all these poor innocent people dying for no reason? And it's very realistic as well. Like, you can see, like why on earth would why would cruel humans do this to other cruel humans and make poor innocent people die with no reason? It's awful, but it's true, it's realistic. All the episodes are streaming on Apple TV, so you can go check it out as well.